The morning had started like any other for Elon Musk. A quick review of production numbers from the Shanghai Gigafactory, a video conference with his Neuralink team, and a hastily consumed protein shake as he scrolled through a new batch of SpaceX simulations. It was shaping up to be another typically frenetic day in the life of the world's most restless entrepreneur when his personal assistant entered his office with an unusual expression. "There's a situation that needs your attention," she said, placing a thick folder on his desk. "Apparently you now own a farm in northern Wisconsin." Musk looked up from his tablet, certain he had misheard. "I what?" "You own a farm. 140 acres, with a house and several outbuildings. The paperwork was finalized yesterday." For a moment, Musk simply stared at her. He owned many properties, but he was absolutely certain he had never purchased a farm in Wisconsin. As he flipped through the folder, the bizarre reality became clear. Due to a clerical error at the land registry office, combined with a similarity in corporate naming between one of his smaller holding companies and a property investment group, a rural property had been mistakenly transferred into his name during what should have been a routine transaction for another buyer. "This is obviously a mistake," he said. "Have legal sort it out and transfer it to the rightful owner." "That's the problem," his assistant explained. "The original owner died 3 years ago. The property was in legal limbo with a bank, and the intended buyer has since backed out of the deal. Our lawyers say unwinding this could take months. Now it's legally yours, complications and all." Under normal circumstances, Musk would have delegated this entirely to his legal team and forgotten about it. But something in the property description caught his eye. The folder mentioned a large collection of technical documents and materials in the barn that had been abandoned with the property. The former owner was listed as Dr. Arthur Kleinman, a name that sounded vaguely familiar to Musk, though he couldn't immediately place it. What happened next was completely out of character for a CEO running multiple billion-dollar companies. Perhaps it was curiosity, or perhaps it was the growing sense of cognitive fatigue from months of relentless work. Whatever the reason, Elon Musk did something unexpected. He decided to visit the property himself. "Clear my schedule for tomorrow," he told his assistant. "I'm going to Wisconsin." The farm sat at the end of a long gravel road, about 30 miles outside of Madison. As Musk's rented SUV crunched over the stones, he took in the scene before him. The 2-story farmhouse had clearly been handsome once, though years of neglect had left it weather-beaten and sagging in places. Several outbuildings dotted the overgrown property, including a large, weathered barn that listed slightly to one side. Using the keys provided by the bank, Musk entered the house first. It was mostly empty, with just a few pieces of furniture, draped in dust covers. The air was stale but not unpleasant. It smelled of old books and wood polish. Family photos still hung on some walls, showing a thin, serious-looking man with wild white hair alongside a smiling woman, spanning decades of a life Musk knew nothing about. But it was the barn that had drawn him here. Pulling open the heavy, wooden doors, he stepped into the cavernous space. Dust motes danced in the beams of sunlight that streamed through cracks in the walls. At first glance, it appeared to be a typical barn, with old farm equipment pushed against the walls. But at the far end was something decidedly atypical. What looked like a workshop or laboratory, complete with workbenches, shelving units filled with equipment, and a large desk covered in papers. As Musk approached, he noticed something else. Covering an entire wall were detailed technical drawings, formulas, and schematics. Some appeared to be related to battery technology, others to solar energy systems, and still others to unfamiliar configurations that Musk couldn't immediately identify. On the central workbench lay a series of leather-bound notebooks, meticulously maintained and labeled by year, stretching back to the 1980s. Musk opened one at random and found himself looking at detailed notes on electrolyte compositions and cathode designs that seemed decades ahead of their time. He grabbed another notebook, then another, increasingly astonished by what he was reading. These weren't the scribblings of an amateur or hobbyist. They were the systematic research notes of a serious scientist working on advanced electrochemical storage systems. "Who were you, Dr. Kleinman?" Musk murmured, turning to a dusty credential hanging on the wall. The framed doctorate was from MIT, 1968. Next to it was a faded group photo showing Kleinman standing among a research team at Bell Labs in the early 1970s. Another photo showed him receiving an award from a man Musk recognized as a former Secretary of Energy. But what caught Musk's attention next made him forget everything else. On a small shelf beside the desk sat 5 small cylindrical objects. They looked like batteries, but unlike any he had ever seen. Their design was peculiar, almost organic in appearance. Each was labeled with cryptic notations and dates. Beside them was a final notebook, newer than the others, with a single word written on its cover: success. With growing excitement, Musk opened this notebook and began to read. The first entry, dated just 4 years earlier, simply stated, "It works. After all these years, it finally works." What followed were detailed notes describing a breakthrough in battery technology, a novel approach to lithium-ion chemistry that promised energy densities far beyond anything currently in production. The notes described a battery that could potentially store 3 times the energy of Tesla's most advanced cells, with greater stability, faster charging, and a significantly longer life cycle. As the CEO of the world's leading electric vehicle company, Musk immediately grasped the implications. If these designs were viable, they could revolutionize not just Tesla, but the entire energy storage industry. Electric vehicles with 3 times the range. Home Powerwall units that could store enough energy to power a house for a week instead of a day. The implications were staggering. But there was something else in the notebook that gave Musk pause. Kleinman had not pursued patents or publication. His notes revealed a deep disillusionment with the corporate world after his early research had been shelved by employers more interested in quarterly profits than long-term innovation. Instead, he had chosen to perfect his work in private, funding his research with a modest inheritance and occasional consulting jobs. A passage near the end of the notebook particularly struck Musk. "I have completed what I believe to be my life's most significant work, but I find myself without the energy or resources to bring it to the world. At 84, my hands no longer work as they once did. Perhaps these notebooks will be discovered after I'm gone, perhaps not. I can only hope that if they are found, it will be by someone who understands that technology must serve humanity's highest needs, not merely its immediate desires." Kleinman had died just months after writing these words, his breakthrough unknown to the world. For hours, Musk pored over the notebooks, taking photos of key pages with his phone. The technical concepts were complex, but beautiful in their elegance. What impressed him most was how Kleinman had approached the problem from a completely different angle than conventional battery research, focusing on biomimetic structures inspired by energy storage in living cells. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows through the barn doors, Musk sat at Kleinman's desk, deep in thought. By all rights, these designs now legally belonged to him, at least until the property situation was resolved. He could have his teams at Tesla begin work on them immediately, but something about Kleinman's story and his final written wishes gave him pause. The next morning, Musk did something that surprised his entire legal team. Instead of claiming ownership of Kleinman's research, he initiated a search for the scientist's heirs. It took several weeks, but eventually, a daughter was located, Dr. Elena Kleinman, a climate scientist working at a research station in Alaska. When Musk called her personally to explain the situation, she was first confused, then emotional. "Dad always said his work would find the right person someday," she told him. "He would talk about his battery designs sometimes, but I thought it was just an old man's fantasy. None of us took it seriously enough." "Your father wasn't fantasizing," Musk told her. "His work was brilliant, revolutionary even, and I'd like to propose something to honor it." What followed was unprecedented in Tesla's history. Musk established the Kleinman Battery Initiative, a special division within Tesla dedicated to developing the late scientist's designs. Elena Kleinman was invited to oversee the project as a special advisor, ensuring her father's vision was respected. Most significantly, Musk arranged for a substantial portion of any profits from the resulting technology to go into a foundation, in Kleinman's name, dedicated to supporting independent researchers working outside traditional corporate structures. 6 months later, the first prototype batteries based on Kleinman's designs were produced at a special facility in Nevada. They performed even better than the notebooks had suggested, achieving energy densities that the industry had considered impossible for at least another decade. At the press conference announcing the breakthrough, Musk did something unusual. He stepped aside and let Elena Kleinman take the podium. "My father believed that the greatest innovations often come from those working at the margins, away from the pressures of markets and quarterly reports," she told the assembled journalists. He chose freedom to pursue his ideas over recognition or wealth. Today, we honor not just his technical achievement, but that philosophical choice. The impact on Tesla was profound. Within 2 years, vehicles equipped with Kleinman cells were achieving ranges of over 800 miles on a single charge. The company's home energy storage business tripled as the new batteries made residential solar truly viable for millions of homeowners. The stock price soared as Tesla consolidated its position as the world leader in energy storage technology. But perhaps the most meaningful outcome was the establishment of the Kleinman Fellowship Program, which identified brilliant scientists and engineers working in obscurity and gave them the resources and freedom to pursue their ideas without corporate constraints. As for the farm itself, Musk did eventually straighten out the legal confusion. But instead of selling it, he donated the property to the University of Wisconsin as a research retreat where Kleinman Fellows could work in the same quiet environment that had fostered Arthur Kleinman's breakthrough. The original barn was preserved, exactly as Kleinman had left it. A reminder that sometimes the greatest innovations happen not in gleaming corporate laboratories, but in quiet, overlooked places where passionate individuals pursue ideas for the simple joy of discovery. When asked years later about the strangest thing that ever happened in his business career, Musk would invariably mention the clerical error that accidentally made him the owner of a Wisconsin farm. "That bureaucratic mistake probably did more to advance sustainable energy than $1 billion of R&D, he would say. "It taught me that innovation doesn't always come from where you expect it. Sometimes, you have to look in the places everyone else has overlooked." And in the quiet barn where an aging scientist once worked alone on his vision of a better battery, new generations of independent thinkers now gather each summer to share ideas, challenge conventions, and pursue the kinds of breakthroughs that can only happen when brilliant minds are given the freedom to explore. Have you ever found something valuable in an unexpected place? Or known someone whose brilliant ideas went unrecognized? Share your stories in the comments below. If this tale of accidental discovery and honoring forgotten genius resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to Impact Stories for more powerful moments that changed lives forever. We bring you new, meticulously researched stories every week that reveal the unexpected ways today's most influential figures have been shaped by chance encounters and hidden wisdom. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming story about how Jeff Bezos discovered a mathematical prodigy working as a warehouse janitor who now silently shapes Amazon's most crucial algorithms. Remember, innovation and inspiration can come from the most unexpected sources, just like the stories you'll only find on this channel. See you in our next Impact Story.